What's up you guys, welcome back to the Ultum Nature Systems channel. Today I'm going to be assembling the all-new hybrid display stand, as well as setting up the all-in-one plant holding system, as well as the Foresta plant holding system. And I'm going to show you guys how to plumb this and set them up on the hybrid stand. So we unpackaged everything and laid it out on the floor, and I'm going to give you guys a quick rundown on what's included in the boxes. So first you have 4 tall vertical posts, and there are some small differences between these that I'll go over later. You'll also find 2 longer horizontal posts, as well as 6 shorter ones. There's also 2 short horizontal posts with pipe holders on them. And then you have 3 shelves. 2 of these are gonna have the pre-installed nano foam mat. And there's also a metal tool that comes included, and this is all you're gonna need to assemble this stand. There's no outside tools required, so let's get into it. So I'm gonna move all the parts out of the way that we are not gonna be using in this first part of the assembly. So all I'm looking to do is grab 2 of these vertical bars. So I have my 2 vertical posts laid out in front of me here. And one of the key things to note about this is that there are different cuts for each side of the post. So the bottom is determined by where the 3 slots that are close to each other are. So for me, that's gonna be the left side here. So there's the 1, 2, 3 slots that are cut close to each other. And again, make sure that the slots on the inside of each of these bars are facing each other. So I have 3 slots running parallel to these holes as well. And the side with the singular cut is gonna be the top of our stand. This is very important for later in the assembly. So for the next step, grab the 2 short horizontal bars with the pipe holders. This is the one with the singular pipe holder, as well as the one with the 2 pipe holders. And the next part will depend on how you want to set up this hybrid stand. So the cool thing about the stand is that you have 2 options, one for the Foresta on top and one for the Foresta on bottom, with the all-in-one on the bottom or top respectively. So if the Foresta is going on the bottom, the all-in-one plant holding system is gonna be on top and vice versa. So for the sake of this video, I'm gonna be setting up the all-in-one plant holding system above the Foresta. So I'm gonna grab the 2 horizontal bars with the pipe holders, and I'm just gonna place them where I'm planning to fasten them. So the 2 pipe holder one will always be below the singular pipe holder. So I'm gonna place that here, and I'm gonna place this here just to orient myself for the sake of the video and for setup. So I'm just gonna set these on the ground for now. So this is the position that you're gonna place the pipe holders for an all-in-one tank above your Foresta. If you are setting this up with the all-in-one tank on the bottom and the Foresta on top, this is what the orientation is gonna look like. Again, with the singular pipe holder above the 2 pipe holders, and then your other horizontal bar is gonna go up here. So you're gonna have 2 horizontal bars with no pipe holders on the top and bottom of the assembly, and then your 2 with the pipe holders are gonna go here. One key thing to note when laying down these horizontal bars is that one side will have a small ridge on this. It is critically important that this ridge is facing the top of our stand assembly. So for that, that will be this side here. And on this other one, it will be this side here. Again, making sure it's facing the top of our stand. And now that we have these positioned correctly, we're gonna flip them over so that the fastener is facing upwards. So now that I have the 2 horizontal bars with the pipe holders positioned, I'm gonna grab 2 more of them without pipe holders. And for this assembly, I'm gonna place them here and here. Again, making sure that the ridge is facing the top of our assembly. Next, you're gonna grab your included tool, and you're gonna insert the fasteners into the slots on the long vertical post, and using a clockwise motion, completely hand tighten all of the fasteners. Make sure they are fully hand tightened too, just to prevent any risk of danger or damage. Now that we have that side fully fastened, you're gonna repeat the same thing for the other side. I'm gonna move this behind me, and then I'm gonna grab the 2 other vertical posts and lay them out in the same orientation. Next, you're gonna grab the 4 remaining horizontal posts, and you're gonna lay these in the exact position that we laid all of the horizontal posts in the previous assembly. And then, using your included tool, you're gonna fasten all of the connection points. So now that we have this part fully assembled, we're gonna grab our 2 long horizontal shelves, and again with the fasteners facing inwards, so towards each other, and the ridges facing up, I'm gonna put these at the very bottom of our assembly. So that'll be this side here. And then using the included tool, I'm gonna fasten them into position. Again, making sure they're fully hand tightened. Next, we're gonna grab our 2 shelves with the nano foam mats. It's important to note that these foam mats are different than what normally comes on your rimless aquariums. This is a hard nano foam mat designed for sliding your tanks into place. And we're gonna place these wherever we decided to place your horizontal bars on this ladder assembly. So this is gonna differ if you have your Foresta on top and your all-in-one on bottom, and I'll show you where to place these for that assembly in a second. But for me, one's gonna go here to match this horizontal bar. And then I'm gonna take my tool and again, in a clockwise motion, fasten these into position. And then I'm gonna grab my other one and I'm gonna place it where this horizontal bar up here is. And again, using the tool, fasten this into place. Now, if you assembled this with the Foresta on top and the all-in-one on bottom, these 2 nano foam mat shelves are gonna go here in here on these slots. Next, I'm gonna grab our shelf with no nano foam mat, and this one will always be at the very top of the stand assembly. So that one will go up here. And before I screw this in place, I'm gonna have to install light brackets on this one since it's sitting above the all-in-one tank. So if you set this up with the Foresta on top and the all-in-one on bottom, the shelf with the nano foam mat you will want to take off to put light brackets in. That's gonna be the one that's sitting right here. So I'm gonna lay this shelf down with the flat side facing the ground, and I'm gonna grab our light hanging brackets, so that is this piece here. And using the included self-tapping screws as well as a drill, I'm gonna slowly drill one side of each bracket into the frame. So I'm gonna drill this side. I'm not gonna drill the other side yet, and I'll show you why in a second. However, it is helpful if you pre-drill the hole where the screw is gonna go into the frame at this point, just so you're not drilling upwards later on in the assembly. So I'm gonna drill this side of this one here, and then I'm gonna do the exact same thing on the other horizontal bar of this assembly. So I'm gonna drill in the other side here. And it is a little difficult to drill into this aluminum, so it may be helpful to pre-drill with a pilot drill bit, just so you have some guide to follow when you are screwing in the self-tapping screws. So now that I have the brackets drilled into the shelf, I'm gonna carefully pick this up, and I'm gonna place this with the flat side facing up and the brackets facing the bottom of our assembly. I'm just gonna put this back on our frame, and then using the tool, lock this into place. So now that we have all these shelves in place, I'm gonna grab the first assembly that we built, and I'm gonna slowly place this on top of our frame, making sure that the fasteners fall into the slots to secure it into place. So now that we have this part placed onto our assembly, I'm gonna use the included tool, and I'm gonna hand tighten all of the fasteners that connect these two parts. And the last step is to double check all the fasteners that we have fastened to make sure they are completely tightened. So I'm gonna double check the bottom as well as these horizontal bars that we placed on these vertical posts earlier in the assembly. Again, just making sure to take your time, ensuring that every single fastener is fully hand tightened. Now turn the stand upright, slowly, just to make sure everything is good. And then if you were following along with me, you're gonna have to flip it around and double check that these are on the left side of you guys, my right side. This will be very important later on when we do the plumbing for the all-in-one plant holding tank. So now that we have this stand upright and in the correct orientation, it is essential that at this point you move it into its final position and you fasten it both to the wall and the floor using the included wall and floor fasteners. We're not gonna be showing this on video because we're here in our white studio, but it's essential that you do this in your commercial space or store. So now that the stand is in its final position, you're gonna grab your light. I'm using a Twinstar 900E for this, and you're gonna slowly insert it into the frame that we screwed into place. And this is why it's important just to screw in one side now, is because if it's fully screwed in, it's really hard to insert this light in. And then I'm just gonna use a hand screwdriver and I'm gonna screw in the screws to the holes that we drilled when it was laying on the floor. And it's important that you do not over tighten these screws because you will strip the whole of the thread and then your light risks falling out. So just tighten it enough to be completely secure, but not stripping that hole. So I'm gonna fully tighten these. And another little thing to note is that I chose to run the wire out of this side here, the same side as our tube holders. And this will just give a little bit of a cleaner look. Once all the electrical is done, once we have a pump in the all-in-one tank, just all the wires will be coming out of this side and it'll kind of clean up the system that little bit more. There is no need to assemble a light bracket above the Foresta since the LED light can just rest on top of the glass of the Foresta. So you only have to do it on top of the all-in-one tank. So the next step is placing both the all-in-one tank and the Foresta 174 on the stand, and then I'm gonna show you guys how to plumb the system. So the first thing you're gonna wanna do to do the plumbing of this all-in-one plant holding system is grab this assembly with a 3-way valve, and you're gonna unscrew the unions that are here, 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 and here. So I'm gonna unscrew the parts from all of these and set these to the side. Then you're gonna grab these two parts that we just unscrewed from the 3-way valve. You're gonna unscrew the bulkhead from the male drain. You should get two separate parts like this. And I'm gonna run the male thread through the small hole on the right side of this tank. And I'm gonna make sure that the gasket and O-ring are in the proper position. And I'm just gonna slowly screw this into place, making sure that it's fully hand tightened. And again, double check that the O-ring is on the bottom portion and there is a gasket on the top portion of this bulkhead. And then I'm gonna grab the elbow connected to the bulkhead. And I'm gonna screw this in on this hole right here that is up against the overflow. So I'm gonna take the elbow, again, making sure that the gasket is in the right spot. And I'm just gonna hold the elbow in place while I screw the male thread into place against the overflow box. So you should have an elbow there. Then I'm gonna grab the bulkhead that was screwed onto the 3-way valve, this one here, that feeds into the elbow and union. And I'm gonna unscrew the bulkhead from it and make sure that the gasket stays on this the whole time, because sometimes it does fall off in the overflow box. And I am going to slowly screw this into one another with the tank between both sides of the O-ring and the gasket. And again, making sure this is fully hand tightened. It should look something like this once it's assembled. Then I'm gonna take this part here, this is our main drain, and I'm gonna unscrew the drain from this union piece that was right here. And I'm gonna set this piece of plumbing to the side, and I'm gonna unscrew the two parts of this drain like this. You should have two pieces. I'm gonna put the piece with the gasket against the bottom side of the glass. And then I'm gonna slowly screw in the drain into the large hole on the underside of the tank. And make sure that this one is fully tightened, because if it isn't, you may experience leaks. So it should look something like that. Then I'm gonna grab this large pipe and I'm gonna do the exact same thing for this drain. I'm gonna unscrew it from the main body, set the pipe to the side, take the drain, and I'm gonna be screwing this one into the larger hole that is here, just outside of what we screwed in earlier. So I'm gonna take this, put the drain through the hole, and hold it into place while I screw through the bottom. Again, making sure that there's a gasket, making sure that it is fully hand tightened, just to prevent any sort of leaks. And we're gonna grab our main drain that we unscrewed the drain from earlier. We're gonna take this piece of tape off and make sure that the O-ring does not fall out in this next step, because if it does, you could have some sort of leak. So make sure the O-ring is fully pushed in. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna snap it into the pipe holder that we put on the frame earlier. So this is when those pipe holders come into play. And then on the underside of this, I'm going to screw in this union here into the drain that we put into the overflow box earlier. And make sure it's fully hand tightened. If you have a strap wrench, you can use that too to just tighten these unions, that little extra bit, and make sure you don't have any leaks. Then I'm gonna get this large pipe with the unions on either side that we unscrewed the drain from earlier. And I am going to screw this onto the drain that is inside of the display. Again, making sure to double check for O-rings to prevent leaks. And make sure this is fully hand tightened as well. Again, you can use a strap wrench if you have it to tighten it that little extra bit if needed. And then on the other side, I'm going to line it up with this thread here. Again, double checking that there is an O-ring right here. And then I'm going to line it up and screw in that union. Until fully hand tightened. Then I'm gonna grab my three-way valve and double check that you have 3 O-rings on this, because sometimes they do fall out after you unscrew this from the assembly. So double check that there's an O-ring here, and an O-ring here, and that they are undamaged. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screw this in with this union here. So connecting this to the bulkhead that we put inside of the overflow earlier, as well as this union that feeds into the elbow above it. So I'm gonna make sure that both of these are fully hand tightened. Again, it's important that all of these connection points are really tight just to prevent any leaks. And there you go. Next, grab the smaller pipe with the 2 unions on either side, and this is the one with the elbow up to a union. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna screw this into this bulkhead on this side, again, double checking for O-rings, ensuring that there are O-rings in proper position. And I'm going to screw the union onto the bulkhead that we put inside of our display earlier. And then on the other side, I'm gonna fasten this union to the three-way valve just to lock in this assembly. Next, I'm gonna grab this piece with the duckbill, the ball valve, and the spray bar, and I am going to reach inside of the display tank, and I'm just gonna fully push this into the bulkhead that we screwed onto the three-way valve. So make sure it's down all the way, and then I'm just gonna line the horizontal bar up parallel with this pane of glass, just so it's sitting straight. Then I'm gonna grab our other spray bar, and this is the one with the little foot on the end, and I'm going to attach this to the elbow that is inside of this tank. So you may need to twist the elbow outwards just to fit this spray bar in, but I'm just gonna fully push it into the elbow, making sure it's locked in. Next, I'm gonna grab my pump, and I'm using a CJ Syncra Pro 4000 for this, and I'm gonna unscrew the barb just so it's a bit narrower, set this to the side, and taking my pump, I'm going to look inside of this overflow chamber, and I'm gonna put it in the first chamber just to dodge the railings that hold the filter floss holder of the second chamber. And I'm gonna set it in here like this. Just positioning the cord so it runs cleanly out of the first chamber. And then I'm gonna reattach our barb that we unscrewed from the pump. Next, I'm gonna take this piece of assembly here with the 2 elbows, 3 barbs into the hard tubing. And I'm gonna take some straight scissors and I'm gonna cut this piece of soft tubing in the middle in half like that. And only do this if you're looking to attach an inline diffuser, which I am. So I'm gonna put an inline diffuser inside of this soft tubing just to clean up how we're gonna be adding CO2 to these plants. And I'm gonna lock this in place. It should look something like this. Another thing to note is that sometimes your pump may be large. You may need to remove some of this tubing here to allow the tubing to sit straight without any kinks, to not restrict any sort of flow from your pump to your system. So I'm gonna take about 1.5 inches off of this tubing just to make sure that all the tubes sit flush in the overflow of our tank. So I am going to take that much off just to make sure that there's no kinks when I attach this to my CJ pump. So now I'm going to attach this to the bulkhead that we put into the overflow, and this is the small one that's in this chamber right here. You're gonna wanna put this hard tubing into the bulkhead and really push it down so it is tight in there, just so it doesn't come unloose and your pump is just blowing around this back chamber. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to wedge it into that bulkhead there, making sure that it's fully pushed down and fully tightened within that system. So really make sure it's wedged in tight. And then I'm gonna take the piece of soft tubing that I had and I'm gonna connect it to the barb of my CJ pump, making sure that it's fully pushed down and fully flush. The final piece of plumbing is to grab this here. This is our return line, so you can connect this barb to a hose to easily fill up the all-in-one tank. And I'm gonna put this on this back side here with the elbow feeding into this chamber. And I'm just gonna snap this into the tube holders that are on the stand at the bottom and the top. So it should look like that. So the last thing to do is grab your filter floss tray, as well as a piece of filter floss that is cut to size. And you're gonna bring this to the overflow and set it onto the clear acrylic railings that are in the overflow box. And then get your filter floss, and all you're gonna do is place this onto the tray. And what's nice about this is it's super easy to clean, so when plant debris overflows through this and they're skimmed off the surface, they'll land on this filter floss, and it's super easy to rinse out for maintenance. So this is how the plumbing will look once it is fully assembled. And I'm gonna give you guys a brief rundown on how some of these features work. So there is a primary three-way valve, and this controls the method of flow through the system. So the first method, when it is standing vertical, this is the standard flow. And what this does is it forces water through the duckbill, over the tops of your stem plants in your all-in-one tank, as well as slightly through the spray bar here. But if you want to focus the water more through the spray bar, simply turn this ball valve, and it'll force all of the flow coming from the pump through this horizontal spray bar if you want to flush the floor into the overflow box. The next flow method you have is the flush method, and what this is if you turn this three-way valve like that, with the arrows pointing this way and up, you're gonna force all the water through this horizontal spray bar here. And what's nice about this is if you are doing this while simultaneously opening the main drain here to flush the tank of all of its water, all the detritus will get sucked into this drain right here. So detritus will be pushed along the bottom and into the drain. It'll follow this tube and come out of this barb here. So we recommend plumbing this barb to a sink or outside or somewhere you can flush the water from this system. It's super easy to clean it out during water changes. You simply turn this to flush mode and open this drain, and you can do simple water changes like that. And that's where this refill bar comes in. As mentioned previously, if you attach a hose to this small barb here and turn it on and then open this ball valve, you can perform water changes super quick. It'll automatically start flooding your tank through that barb right there. So we've really optimized this system to make maintenance the easiest it can be. So that is all the plumbing setup on this all-in-one plant holding system. If you guys want a more in-depth video on how the flow works inside of this tank, be sure to check out the triple decker all-in-one plant holding system setup video. That's the one with 3 of these tanks on a vertical display stand. And if you guys want a more in-depth video on how to set up your Foresta from unboxing to full setup, be sure to check out the double decker Foresta stand video. I'm now gonna drop in the accessories in this all-in-one tank, as well as fully set up this Foresta underneath it. So that is it for this video, you guys. That is the all-in-one plant holding system fully assembled, as well as this Foresta 174 fully assembled with all the accessories. Setup on these is gonna be exactly the same regardless of if you have your Foresta on top or on the bottom like this, and vice versa for the plant holding system, the all-in-one. I hope you guys found this video enjoyable. Me and John will be back showing you guys stocking this with some plants. We ordered some really cool, really vibrant plants. We can't wait to show you guys what it looks like with some plants inside. Thank you, and I will see you in the next one.